everyone, and welcome to Jack and Cat Adventures. Today we're going to be making Hungarian nut rolls. It takes a little bit of time. You got to prep ahead of time because it needs to sit overnight before we can go on to the final step, okay? So in a large bowl, you're going to need 6 cups of flour and 1 pound of butter and a half a cup of sugar. You're going to cut that in with the pastry cutter. But before we do that, I want to get you started on your yeast mixture. So in a little bowl, whatever, you're going to need a 1/4 cup of warm water, like the temperature of a baby's bottle, 2 tablespoons of yeast, and I just used a little bit of my sugar that I put in here. I just put a little bit of sugar in there just to kind of feed it. I'm going to put that off to the side and let it grow. You're going to need 1 cup of milk, 1 cup of sour cream, 6 egg yolks, and 6 egg whites. The whites are going to be used for the next day, so put those to the side. So we're going to start cutting in our butter into our flour mixture, and we want to make it look like pie dough. Alright, so this is what it should look like when all the butter is cut into it. Now what you're going to do, let me just clean off my pastry blender. Alright, so now what you're going to do, you're going to make a well in the middle of your flour. Doesn't have to be perfect. And we're going to add 1 cup of sour cream. Okay. You're going to add your 6 egg yolks. And if you get any egg yolk in that egg white, you're going to have to throw away the egg white, okay? So you don't want any yolk in that. We're going to put in 1 cup of milk. And we're going to pour in our yeast mixture. Now, this is what it should look like. It should be nice and foamy. Nice and foamy. We're going to pour that in. You can even see it on here how foamy it is. It's what you're looking for. And it will continue to work its magic in the refrigerator overnight. So your dough should be pretty nice in the morning. Now, we're going to mix this all together. Just take your time.
You start out with the wooden spoon or spatula, and you're going to end up with your hands in it.
Exactly.
And it's just the way you have to do it.
Just takes a little time.
And it's almost at the point where she's got to get her hands in it.
Yeah. Okay. Now, I'm going to pour this out onto my board. Now, don't worry, it's going to be very, very sticky. We're going to be kneading it. We're going to work it for a couple of minutes, and then I'll show you what else to do with it. I'll show you how to knead it here in a second. Alright, so now I'm just going to start kneading this until it becomes smooth. It will take a couple of minutes, so don't rush it.
Just got to get everything all
Mixed in really nice.
smushed together. And as you're doing this, you can see the butter, the little pieces of butter. They should be about pea size.
That
or
butter's
smaller.
That butter's going to make this dough really, really tender.
Yep. This is by far one of our favorites.
Yeah, this is a really good recipe. So I'm just going to keep working this until it's smooth. And then we'll move on to the next step. Alright, so now this is nice and soft and smooth, and do not add any flour while you're kneading this. You cannot add any extra flour. It will make your dough tough.
And it is really sticky.
Yeah, but once it sits overnight, it's not sticky like this, okay? So we're going to just put this in some saran wrap. And this recipe is easy to double or triple or however much you want to do. This will make about between 6 and 8 nut rolls depending on how big you make them. Now, once this sits overnight, we will break it into 6 or 7 little balls, and then we'll start making our rolls. So this needs to sit overnight. Alright, now we're going to get started on actually making the rolls. So what I did was I took some pecans and some walnuts, and I roasted them on 350 degrees for about 10 to 12 minutes, stirring occasionally. You don't want them to burn. Once they start to smell, you just start getting that faint smell of roasting, pull them. I put them in the food processor and I just made them into like a ground meal. You do not have to roast them if you don't want to. Just go ahead and use plain ones. Just put them in the food processor and go ahead. I'm only going to make a little bit of the nut mixture at a time, so that way I don't waste it at the end. If I have more nuts than I do dough, I don't want to ruin some good nuts. So in a container bowl, I have some sugar, as much as you want. I just kind of eyeball it, maybe about 1/4 cup, whatever. And I'm going to add some of the pecans. And the reason I'm doing this is I had a lot of nuts I needed to use up in the fridge or freezer. If you just want to do pecans or you just want to do walnuts, go ahead. I like the mixture. Okay, so I have my sugar in this bowl, I have my nuts in the bowl, and I'm going to add some milk. I want it to be a spreadable mixture, so I can't really give you measurements on that either. Make it to how you like it. That's what I do too. I don't have any measurements for this.
You just don't want it too wet,
Right.
otherwise it'll burst through your dough.
Right, and if it's too wet, just add more nuts. I'm going to add a few more nuts. You're going to set your oven at 325 degrees. You're going to need a couple of cookie sheets with parchment paper or silk pad on them. Once you get everything put together, it goes really fast. But wait till you see my dough.
It took over the refrigerator.
It sure did, which means it's going to be really good dough. Okay, I'm going to let that set just for a few seconds, and I'm going to move on over to my egg whites. Now with the egg whites, you're going to want to beat them just until they're frothy. I'll start beating them a little bit. Once I start getting a little bit frothy, I'm going to add some vanilla. I like vanilla in mine. Maybe about a teaspoon or so. Doesn't really matter. And keep beating them until they're frothy. Okay, and that's what you want it to look like. You want to show them, Jack?
Just frothy.
Just frothy. You don't want them stiff or anything like that, just frothy. Okay, now I'm going to get my dough out and I'll get right back to you. Alright, so here's our dough that sat overnight. It's huge. We actually had a blowout. and it's fine. I'm gonna unwrap this. Now, depending on how big you want your rolls is how you're gonna cut this, okay? So I'm just gonna see how much one roll looks like. So I'm gonna just cut it down the middle. And I probably will get 4 out of each side. So that'll give me 8 rolls because this is really big. Put that onto this one. Here we go. Okay, now what we're going to do, move all your dough over. You need to invest in one of these scrapers. They're really cheap and they are amazing. Okay, so now we're going to put some flour down. And this is why I said don't put more flour in your original dough because you're going to use some flour here so it don't stick. And as you can see, you didn't need it. Once it's cold, it's not sticky anymore, okay? So we're going to roll this out to about 1/8 of an inch thickness. I'm just going to kind of get it all put together since I... Okay, now I'm going to roll.
Or am I gonna roll?
You can roll.
I figured. Get out of my way.
I don't mind.
Get out of my way, woman.
I am not big into rolling
Get
dough.
away.
I'll do it if I have to, but if
Get
Jen's
away
here,
from my dough.
I'd rather him do it. Now remember, you don't want the nuts so dry that you can't spread nicely without tearing your dough. That's kind of how you eyeball it. And it is 1 cup of nuts and 1/4 cup of sugar. So I was pretty right on that one. But use as much or as little as you want. You don't even need to add the sugar if you don't want to. I think it just gives it another layer of flavor. Nice dough.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't have to be perfect. That's what homemade means. Homemade. We're not
It's
using
not made by a
machines.
machine.
Right, we're not using machines to make it, so don't worry if it doesn't come out perfect your first couple times of doing it. Just get used to working with dough and it'll just come to you naturally.
Okay.
Okay. Now what you're going to do,
What I do is scrape the flour away.
right, now you're going to take a brush. I'm just going to fluff this up a little bit more now that it's set for a little bit. Okay. And now I'm going to take a brush and I'm going to brush this on the bottom.
I think you need a bigger brush.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I had a really nice blue silicone one, but I don't know where it went and I loved
It
that thing.
disappeared. We have a problem with stuff disappearing in the house.
Yeah, we can't find our other rolling pin either. Okay, so now what you're going to do is you're going to put your nuts on top of that. Just set it in the middle a little bit, and I'm going to take my offset spatula.
I don't know what you did with it.
I don't know what I did with it either.
I got it out for you.
I
set it
washed,
here on the
I
counter.
washed it because the dough exploded in the refrigerator, and I had to get it off the side of the fridge. Okay. And just go to about 1/4. Just leave like 1/4 of a lip on your...
About 1/4 inch around the edges.
Right.
Perfect. No, you can pull some from there. It's a bit much.
Nope, I overdid it. That looks perfect. Okay, now we're going to roll it up. We're going to put it on our prepared pan, and you're going to let it sit for 30 minutes. This will kind of be your second rise. And it kind of makes the dough relax a little bit when you let it rest.
As you roll it, pinch those ends down.
Yeah.
That way the nut roll doesn't break open or has less of a tendency to break open. Okay. It's right behind you. Nope. I already brought one over.
It's the clown show today. Alright, and just put it on your thing and just continue doing the dough that way. After 30 minutes, I'll come back and tell you what else to do. Alright, now that these have just set for 30 minutes, you're going to take your egg whites and you're just going to brush the tops of these. This gives them a nice kind of brown color. And then you're going to put them in a 325 degree oven for 30 to 35 minutes. Alright, so here's our finished Hungarian nut rolls. They look amazing. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. And remember, you do you.